Are you relocating to Jacksonville and looking at buying a home in St. John's, but curious about what the traffic is going to be in your travel time? Well, that is what this video is about today. We're discussing traffic in St. John's in relation to Northeast Florida. I'm Caitlin Blosser. I'm a local mom and realtor living in St. John's. If you're looking to relocate to the area, I would love to help. So today we're talking traffic. As I've mentioned before, St. John's is a commuter county, meaning most people who move here do not work here. While we do have a lot of hospitals and things being built and some plans for the next couple years, right now most of the industries that people work in are in Jacksonville, which means you have an influx of traffic going to Jacksonville. Now, I personally don't consider our traffic bad whatsoever, but it's really going to depend on where you're coming from. Luckily, St. John's is a suburb of Jacksonville on the south end, and we have two major highways helping connect you to Jacksonville. So we have 9B, which connects to 295, which is a big circle around Jacksonville. It takes you to the east side of Jacksonville, north, west side, and so on. And then we have 95 cutting straight up through Jacksonville, both with easy accesses from St. John's. And to give you kind of an idea of that, my husband works on the north side of Jacksonville, like over the bridge, like north. It is 32 miles away, and 9 times out of 10, if it's not rush hour, it takes him 35 minutes to get there. 35 minutes going straight up 95. I think he takes 9B to 95 all the way up, gets off, and is at work. So just to show you, there's so much of his commute that is straight highway. Now, the beauty is he can also take 295, so take 9B to 295 and kind of loop Jacksonville and end up right on the north side. And that's about a 42-minute commute. So it is a little bit more distance because you are going around, but 7 minutes isn't bad. And then his favorite thing is in the morning, he leaves early. So he doesn't hit rush hour traffic, but on the way home, he always hits it. So his favorite thing is just to map it, although he knows how to get home, but to see whether taking 295 or 95 is the best route home, because depending on accidents, traffic for the day, it can vary which route. So it is nice knowing you have two ways to get around Jacksonville. And typically his commute home is anywhere from 45 to 55 minutes. So think 35 in the morning, 45 or 55 in the afternoon. So to me, that's not bad for rush hour traffic. And if he ever leaves late in the morning, it's typically about that same 45 to 55 minutes. And most of your traffic, like I said, is going to be people commuting north or people from Jacksonville going to downtown, because downtown is really our hub of industry. And then we have an area on the other side of the river that's very like office park heavy. And then we have JTB, which connects you from kind of that office heavy and like park to the beach. And then towards the beach, you have Mayo Clinic and all of that. So you have some really big highway style roads that can kind of get you to most of your work locations. And typically that is where the kind of holdup of traffic will be. If you go down 295, most of the traffic is kind of right before you get JTB. And then we do have St. John's Town Center, and that's kind of where traffic goes from 4 lanes to 2 lanes all the way to the Dames Point up. So there is some traffic as things bottleneck right there. And then coming home, kind of the same thing. You see like that bottleneck. And then going through downtown from JTB to downtown, you see traffic. So they're kind of short little couple mile stints of traffic, but your whole commute shouldn't be bumper to bumper. So don't ever expect it to take more than an hour kind of to get anywhere. And then traffic varies based upon what's happening. Like anytime there's a sports event, you're obviously going to see a cluster of traffic as you're going to downtown, things like that. But if you're going to lunch to meet somewhere and it's not rush hour, it's always a breeze kind of going in and out. Another thing is we do have an express lane or a toll road as part of 295. So that circle that circles all of Jacksonville, the South Bend, which did see the most traffic, does have a toll road. And to tell you our traffic isn't bad, 9 times out of 10, it is free to use. I've never seen it cost more than 50 cents. And that's very rarely if it's like rush hour times, but most of the time it is free. So I use it more often than not because it's free, even though I don't need to use it. And it's free because there's no traffic. So depending on which direction you're going, you might never have to pay for a toll moving here, where I know in Atlanta, Virginia, things like that, like you can pay a couple dollars a day to commute. And then another thing with that 95 coming straight up and 295 going around, there is the First Coast Highway, which is going to be in the southwest quadrant. So that is going to take you from the west side of Jacksonville down further south and then connect to 95, cutting through that St. John's area. Now, this will just be a toll road, and it's probably a 6 to 8 year build out until it's complete. Right now, they're working on that west coast, on that west side of Jacksonville. Extension, kind of getting the Shands Bridge ready, which takes you from St. John's to Green Cove. And then they'll start making their way to 95. This is something to consider if you're thinking about moving here, is figure out where, well, don't figure out, I'll tell you, but figure out where that First Coast Expressway is going. Because one thing that a lot of people didn't realize when they first bought in Silverleaf is that expressway is going to cut right through the neighborhood. While this will be great if you live there and you're going to work, and it'll help you get to work. A lot of people were kind of caught off guard that this highway is going to run straight through the neighborhood. And another thing to think about with that is it is a toll road. It will be like a toll expressway where you do have to pay to get on. So rumor has it, it won't be very busy, but it is something to consider because we don't know what it's going to be until it's here. But again, if you have any questions about that, we can discuss it later, but just something to note, if your job is in Jacksonville, there will be that third option to get you there. Now, in St. John's specifically, we have a ton of schools here, right? We've talked about it. I think within the 5-mile radius of my home, there's like 5 schools, 6 schools probably. Actually, I think more than that. Either way, there's a ton of schools here. Therefore, during school hours, it's going to add extra traffic to the road. For example, the K through 8 that my neighborhood is zoned for, we are one of only 2 buses for the whole K through 8. The rest of the K through 8 is within a 2-mile radius of the school. Therefore, there's a ton of kids walking, a ton of kids biking, and a ton of kids getting rides from their parents to get to school and get home from school, meaning the roads are busy. Thankfully, in St. John's, we have a great public service officer program, and they are there at the crosswalks, helping direct traffic, helping kids keep safe, and helping traffic flow in and out of schools. So I know in the mornings, if I ever drop my kids off at school and then try to go to the grocery store, it can easily add another 10 minutes to my commute just sitting in that traffic trying to get through the school. Now, when school's not in session, this is not an issue whatsoever, but sometimes I'm caught off guard because I forget that school just got out, or on Wednesdays it's early release and I wasn't thinking school would be in session, and it does add some time to your commute. Also with St. John's, not only do we have a ton of schools, but we have a ton of development. And as you know, with everything, roads are kind of the last thing to come. So St. John's has done a good job trying to keep up with the roads, and there's a lot of road construction underway right now. For example, when you get off on 9B, it'll drop you off on St. John's Parkway, which can take you all the way down to Silverleaf, all the way down to World Golf, or you can take kind of like your first left and it'll take you onto Longleaf Parkway. Longleaf Parkway takes you through the Durbin Crossing neighborhood. You pass Patriot Oaks Academy, Creekside High School, through the Aberdeen neighborhood. You pass Freedom Crossing Academy, you keep going, and then you pass Bartram, and then you end up in Rivertown. So it is a very popular road hitting some major neighborhoods. It's always been 2 lanes, and they're working right now to extend it to 4 lanes. Again, it would get bottlenecked kind of during rush hour and during school hours, but most days you could most times of the day, it isn't that bad of traffic, but they are widening that to 4 lanes. Likewise, you have County Road 210. If you get off on 95 and take County Road 210, which County Road 210 and Longleaf Parkway are parallel to each other, if you got off on 95 and you went east, you would pass like Beach Walk and Beacon Lake, and it would take you kind of to Nocatee. That road, they did widen to 4 lanes, so that one's done. But if you go west on 210, from 95, you're going to hit like St. John's Golf, Stonehurst, St. John's Forest, Cimarron, Southampton, and so on. That was 4 lanes. They extended that probably 10 or 15 years ago when that was a very heavily developed area. But now Once you pass Cimarron and Southampton, it always turned into a 2-lane road. Well, right now they're working to extend it to 4 lanes, and that'll take you to like where Shearwater is, Mill Creek Forest, all the way down to Rivertown as well. So they are working on expanding these roads that are heavily trafficked. But I say they're heavily trafficked, but it's not going to take you an hour to get off 95 to get to your house in St. John's. It's probably like 20 minutes or so, depending, give or take, traffic wise. So know that roads are widening this. So maybe by the time you buy here, they're widened already. And then let's talk about going further south. So we talked about commuting to Jacksonville, but let's talk about commuting to St. Augustine. So you have St. John's, and then right below St. John's, so your County Road 210 exit, and then your next exit is World Golf Village. World Golf Village also has a lot of neighborhoods. It really boomed in the last 2 or 3 years because there were so many people moving here, and they realized they could get a lot more house for their money just going one exit further. Now it's one exit, but it's about 5 miles. Now it is highway time, but unfortunately that is where 95 kind of gets jammed up the most. You kind of have the jam up in downtown Jacksonville, then you're going to have the jam up at World Golf. Like my husband always says, when he gets off on 9B to kind of make his way to St. John's, he sees the traffic starting from World Golf. So I think that's a lot of miles of traffic. Any buyers I have who are interested in that area, I always just encourage them to check their travel times. And a lot of the hiccup in traffic down there is because there are a lot of people living there, but also when you get off the exit itself causes a lot of chaos because you can turn left to like Bannon Lakes, neighborhoods like that, or you can turn right, go to more neighborhoods like Samara Lakes, Mirabella, kind of the World Golf neighborhoods. But if you turn right, your first left is the exit for Costco and Buc-ee's. So you have all these people getting off to not only go home, but to go to Costco and Buc-ee's. And we all know if you live near a Costco or a Buc-ee's, they're busy like 24/7. So it's kind of a mix of people getting off and then having to kind of shoot over to the left lane. For some reason, they are also putting in a Bass Pro at that exit that'll be right next to Costco and Buc-ee's. So to me, the smart move would be to kind of do some sort of overpass to kind of let that exit free up a little bit. But who knows? But that is, if you are looking in that area, keep that in mind. And another thing to talk about that is you have World Golf Village and County Road 210, right? They're parallel to each other here. This will probably make more sense. So they're parallel to each other with 95 running right here. Right here is Silverleaf. So Silverleaf is a big community with a lot of little communities within it in Silverleaf Parkway. So you have 9B gets off, comes down, you pass 210, takes you all the way down to World Golf. So with the buildup of traffic at 95, you have a lot of people getting off and shooting through Silverleaf. Now, Silverleaf doesn't have a lot of lights yet. It's 4 lanes. I want to say there's 2 or 3 lights at the subdivisions that have been built, but for the most part, like you can fly down it. And unfortunately, there's been some tragic accidents, but traffic is really kind of picking up on that neighborhood street because people are trying to avoid the congestion on 95. Now, again, there will be that expressway at some point, the First Coast Expressway, which will also get off there. So it will be interesting to see how traffic shifts as things continue. Past World Golf Village, it frees up a bit until you get a couple more miles down and you hit the St. Augustine outlets. Now, of course, anytime it's shopping season, such as back to school, such as like day after Thanksgiving, kind of right after Christmas, that exit gets super congested as well because everyone's headed to the mall. And the other thing about that exit is it is also the exit that takes you into downtown St. Augustine, like the touristy part of St. Augustine, the historic St. Augustine that everyone loves. So same thing around Christmas time when they do Night of Lights, any big holidays, things like that. You can also see a lot of congestion there headed south because there's so many tourists and locals headed into downtown St. Augustine for everything it offers. Now, another route, if you don't want to take 95, is you do have US 1 or Phillips Highway. So you have like 95 goes here, US 1 or Phillips Highway is right along, I want to say the coast, but it's not really the coast, it's just further east. And US 1 will take you all the way down to St. Augustine. If you take it up, you pass Palencia, you keep going, you can take it over to World Golf. or you can get off on World Golf and kind of take it inland. You can keep going up. US 1 also butts into County Road 210. You'll get to Nocatee and keep going up, and US 1 does eventually get to 295. So, moral of the story, all of that to say, there are a lot of ways to get into Jacksonville and into St. Augustine. You have 295, you have US 1. You have 95, you have Silverleaf Parkway. Like, there are a lot of options for roads if you're looking to move here, which I do think helps keep our traffic at bay. Now, if you talk to people who have been here for 10, 20 years, they're gonna be like, oh my goodness, the traffic is terrible. And that's just because we've had growth and things like that have happened. But based upon other cities I have lived in, our traffic isn't half bad. There's more cars on the road, but our roads seem to hold up to the population we have. So that's it for today. I always recommend as a realtor that if you're looking to move to the area, check those travel times on your map devices. You can put in point A to point B at the time you want, and it'll give you a good estimate. That's going to be your best source. Or I always say, if you're here, drive it. Before you sign the dotted line, drive that commute at your time of your commutes to get a better feel for it. Again, if it's in St. John's, try to make sure it's during school season so that you kind of have that factor playing, because summer affects traffic so much. But aside from that, those apps can really help. I'm Caitlin Blosser, local mom and realtor living in St. John's. Please like and subscribe to my channel. And if you're looking to move to the area, click the link in my bio. And you can set up a one-on-one Zoom appointment with me to see if I'm the right fit to help you with your move to St. John's. So thank you for watching today, and I'll see you guys next week.